Hello my friends, Blackendrose here, and today, besides coughing my lungs up, we are here with Cultist Simulator Perpetual Edition. Now, I don't intend to do a full Let's Play on Cultist Simulator, but what I'm going to do is I aim to turn this into a short series of, of videos. Oh god. Yeah, sorry about that. A short compilation of videos that will aim to guide you on how to play this obscure as hell game. Now, I've played a lot of this to the point where I actually wrote a vast portion of the wiki page on how to beat this game. It's been heavily edited since I wrote it, but a lot of the content I put on there is still there. Now, basically, the concept of this game is you will start a cult in order to help you achieve your goal. Now, determining the legacy, you only see this once you've played the game once before, but you start out in the aspirant state, which, funnily enough, is one of the harder states to play from. Something's in the way of that. So, let's get started. Now, the basic concept behind this is it's a card-based game that has a lot of randomness to it. So, as starting as aspirant, we have this one card here, menial employment, and the work activity. So we drag this over into there and start it, and that will time down, and that's our shift at the hospital. Now this is relatively unimportant. We'll just wait for that to time down, and we now have, let me just pause that. Right, let me engage the fast forward and then pause it. So now we have these two cards, which is one health and one funds. Health is needed for a number of things, and if you run out of health, then it's game over. Funds are needed for numerous things as well. They will be described at a later point. Now two more activities have appeared. We have Dream, and this one is a random one that will disappear once it times out. These can be positive or negative. This one here, Course of the Heart, that one is positive. Now, in order to fulfill these activities, we generally have to put a card into the slots. If you click on the slot, it'll indicate along the side here the various traits and aspects that can be put in there. But also, when you click on it, this card here lights up, which indicates that it can be put here and something done. So, move that down so I can read it. This turns it into unskilled labour. If I start that, a 60-second time will time down, and unskilled labour will be performed, which will earn me some funds. Now this is still the starting stages of the game. Okay, so Dream has produced Contentment, and it has produced Passion, our first Passion card. Now, Dream it produces a lot of effects, and it becomes very vital later on, but for the time being, it's just another thing that we have to do. Also, this one here has appeared, Time Passes. Now, every time this times down, one of our funds will be taken away. If we have no funds, then one of our health will turn into something else. I think it's decay or something like that. Anyway, so that will continue to time down, and this is timed out, and we now have a vitality. That becomes useful later. We'll put our passion into the dream, and we can dream of the moonlit road. Now, when you activate some of these activities, another card slot can appear with it. Now, we don't actually have anything that we can put into this slot at the moment, so we'll just leave that for now. And now we just wait for these various things to time down. There's a lot of waiting in this game. You have to wait for things to time down and finish, and the work is finished. So the health has turned into fatigue. Now, that has a time on it of about 60 seconds. So after 60 seconds timed down, that fatigue will then turn back into health. We gained another vitality, and we gained 1 funds. But we can't do anything else at the moment, so we just have to wait. Okay, we've now gained another new one, which is study. A new activity. This is essential later on, but for now it's just appeared, so it's timing down. This has grabbed one of the funds, and also, if you notice down here, okay, that doesn't tell us anything yet, but sooner or later, a little bit later, it will tell us some useful information. Okay, so just wait for a little bit more, wait for a little bit more. I might edit out some of these waiting bits. Okay, so study has finished, and we've gained a bequest, some additional funds, and 1 reason. Now reason, much like health and passion, becomes very useful later, and you can see down the bottom here, we see our score, not our score, but the number of reason, passion, health, and funds that we have. Now, if I put one of these vitalities into study, and another one in there, we gain, it turns into exercise the body. And we run that. Okay, right, that's another random one that appears, so we'll leave that to the side for now. And the passion has exhausted, and we need to wait for that to unexhaust, and we gained another contentment. Now things like contentment aren't useful to us at the moment, so we'll just leave that as is and do some more unskilled labour. We need to make sure that we keep our funds up, because they'll keep getting burnt out on this. Ah yes, here we go. Now, at the end of each time of time passes activity, this here, a season, will play out. And this time it's a season of silence, so nothing important is going to happen. But depending on what season it's going to be, random events will happen. Much like this one up here. So we'll wait for now. And you can press this little arrow down here to just retrieve whatever cards are in there. We've acquired erudition. That's what it says. I have to move closer to the screen. Now, a card like that is used to increase our reason. So we've done exercise the body, and we've gained this, which is useful for various things, as well as leveling up our health further, and gained another health card. Now, if we put reason into study, it will time down after 60 seconds, and will give us another erudition, which we can then use to level up our reason ability. We gained a vitality and an exhausted health. If I put the that card there along with some health into that, we can work, and I can put the fatigue card into dream to recover it quicker, so that it will become health again. Now generally the best thing to do in the start of the game is to build up your stats. Okay, so what we have here is Season of Suspicion. This is very important, because the Season of Suspicion is a time when you will be monitored, and if you have gained any mystique or notoriety, I think it's mystique especially, a hunter may appear and start becoming a problem, because that can lead to either the end game or the fail states in the game. So now we have 2 eruditions, and we'll put those in so that we can get more reason. And we gain some funds, and I'll put that in again. And we'll put this health in here so that we can recover our health. So far we're doing very little. Yep, okay, so this is a hunter card. A hunter's activity. Now, so far we have no mystique on the table, so we are not known. They will not come to us. But what you'll notice on this one and on this one here is a little magnet. That means it will pull the card that is required for it if it's on the table. This can also mean that it will pull it from other activities if they don't have a magnet symbol on them as well. So we gained the reason card there, scholarship, which we can put back into study, but we need 4 eruditions to gain another reason. That's the same with vitality, gain another bit of health. We can put health in there to gain a vitality. Same with passion. We can put passion in there to gain its version of a growth card. Vitality has other uses. Right, so we've gained some contentment from that. Vitality has another use if you get sick. Right, so take the health back, and we'll put... Actually, we'll wait for now. Right, okay, this one here is quite important. Mortal Frustrations. It's what I call the desire activity. And that becomes important later. So now we've gained this card, which is Restlessness. Now, Restlessness on its own isn't a problem. But once it times down, it turns into something called Dread. Now, Dread is a problem because if a certain activity is on the board, it will drag Dread cards to it, and if you get 3 Dread cards stacked up on it, it's game over. In order to get rid of Restlessness, I can put Passion into the work slot, which does painting, and put Restlessness in there, and that will burn up the Restless card. Right, okay. That just timed out just in time, because now we have 4 vitalities, so I can put this card in here, and put these 4 in. That's contentment. And that will now strengthen that, so we get an extra slot of health. As you can see, so far, not a lot is going on. As I said before, things just keep ticking down at the moment. This is the thing as well. The seasons that happen are randomised, so you can end up with a really bad run of seasons, and it can lead you to have some very have a very bad run. Okay, so I gained 2 glimmering from that, from the painting. So once this times down, the study times down, I can put that into study and gain more passion. So let's put those in there now. And while we're waiting, we'll do a little bit more work. It's handy to keep doing work because... Oops, someone's playing a game there. Transport Fever. Have fun. It's important to keep doing work because, as I say, every 60 seconds funds are exhausted. And what have we got there? Season of Serenities. I think that will get me contentment. Yeah, as you can see, Restlessness just turned into Dread. Now, Dread does have a use. But until the card appears on the board, I won't explain what that use is. So for the time being, if we want to get rid of Dread, which I will do now, we need contentment. Now we don't have any at the moment, and since the situation is not dire, I won't put any down. Right, so we can drag Dread into the Dream and put some contentment in there, and that will get rid of the Dread. And we gain these 2 things. Extra passion. You can put passion on top of other passion cards to stack them, and that becomes useful later when your board gets absolutely flooded with things. This card we got here as well, you can put that into the work slot, and you can put either Mystique, Notoriety, or Passion in there, and you will do a painting. But when you do paintings, you will gain Mystique. Now, I won't do that yet because that's unimportant at the moment. But let's do a little bit more work. And we'll deal with this card here. Now, we can study this with either Passion or Reason. I'm going to study it with Reason this time. The only difference it does is one of the cards you get out of it. But that card can be changed to one of 3 forms anyway. So it doesn't really matter what one you use. Okay. Season of Sickness. So when that comes around, an important element will be introduced. So we gain Reason, and we gained whatever that is. Possible Collaborator, that becomes useful later. Direction to Warlands, it becomes useful later. Now this is where these are important cards we've gained here. What I'll do is I will study this for possible collaborators. Now this card we've gained here is a lore card. Now lore becomes very important as the game goes on. There are 8 kinds of lore in this game, of which they have a strength that goes up to 14 maximum. At the moment this is this is aspect of lantern with a strength of 2. It may not mean a lot at the moment. I will explain more in a later video. As for this is Temptation Enlightenment. Now, the Temptation card is basically the win state for the game, or shall I say the primary win state. I can put this card in the dream and turn it into something else. There are 3 types of enlightenment, 3 types of temptation, which is temptation of enlightenment, temptation of sensation, and temptation of power. Well, but for the time being, there's no problems here. Actually, what I will do the painting one just to show you how it all works. So put the passion in there, and we need an inspiration. Now that can be a number of things. It can be a person, it can be a emotional state, or it can be what I would classify as occult stuff. If you do the occult stuff though, you may draw attention of the wrong kinds of people. So we'll put the contentment in there for now and do a mood piece. Right, so we got rid of the dread that was there, and what I'll do is I'll put this in the dream, and what I can do is if I put health in there, it will turn it into sensation. I believe if I put passion in there, it will turn it into what's it called? Power. Okay, so we've gained a new activity, which is the talk activity. I've gained a little bit of mystique as well. Now, mystique on its own isn't too much of a problem. I mean, if it's the season of suspicion, then a hunter may appear if I've got mystique on the table, but mystique itself can't lead you to a lose state in the game. But mystique can lead hunters to stay active for longer, so it has its reasons. As we can see here, this has now reached the next stage, which is called colour, which basically I can put funds in here that will improve the quality of my painting, or I can put special pigments in if I've acquired them, but they are much later in the game. Okay. It's advisable basically just read what it says on the activities to get an idea of what's going on. Excuse me. Okay, so we'll burn down this other one to find Maudlin's shop. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. I know this isn't much in the way of visual content, but hopefully it's quite descriptive. So we've gained an acquaintance now. An acquaintance on their own isn't a lot of use, but they do become useful later. And now we've gained a new activity, which is explore. And we've gained a new lore piece, which is the histories lore. That works differently from the rest of them, but that will be explained later. Now we've gained Maudlin's shop as well. And what we can do is put that in explore and put some funds in there, and that will acquire us a book. And that becomes very useful later. And oh my god, look what we've got here. We've got our contentment back, we gained some mystique, some more mystique, some more mystique, more contentment, more mystique, and passion, that card, and 2 funds. They may think, hooray, I can make money that way, and it's true. You can put mystique in as well, and you're likely to get more money out of it, which is obviously useful. And we'll do another mood piece. Now, as things stand at the moment, things are moving along quite nicely. Okay, so I've changed it to sensation now, and if I want to make it official, I need to put this in the dream alongside the matching piece of lore. Unfortunately, I don't have a matching piece of lore at the moment, so we'll leave that as is. Okay, so I've gained a bit of an affliction. Now, I put this into dream, and I can put either vitality in, if I have any, or funds. I can put funds in. I don't need to put both in, just one or the other, and that will get rid of it. If I don't cure it, then I will that bit of health that I would have lost will remain lost. There are ways of recovering lost health, but that requires later content. So we'll keep buying books, and you can study books to gain the lore knowledge from them. So for the time being, we'll just let things tick along. Right, what this one here, Bleak Thoughts, this is one of the ways to lose the game. If there are any dread cards on the table, this card will grab it and will store it. If it manages to grab and store 3 despair cards, then an endgame timer will tick down and you'll lose the game. The only way to get rid of those dread cards that stack up in here is to acquire contentment cards. And then that will get grabbed in as well, and that will remove 1 dread card. And that gained me a load more mystique and some more money. So we'll keep doing that. And another mood piece. Okay, so we have passion. And I've gained another book. This one is a very unique one in that it's a stat growth book. So if I put 2 eruditions in, or 2 of the associated stat parts in with the study, it will give me more of that, effectively. So we'll keep adding to the library. Okay, that gives me fleeting memory, which is worthless at the moment. Right, so that's given me more occult stuff to look at. And I will put some reason here so I can gain some erudition. As things stand at the moment, things are ticking along quite nicely. Right, I have money, I'm gathering up, and I've explained some of the core aspects at the moment. I mean, as I move on, I will stop explaining the core elements because they become pretty basic as you move on. Like, you'll be dealing with this stuff all the time. So, I won't explain it all the time. Fleeting memory in there as well. Generally, the best thing to do is just explore to see what you can put in to these various effects. See what comes out and see what works. Okay. If we want to find new acquaintances, what we need to do is take one of these lore cards, put it into talk, we speak of esoteric matters, and then we start learning that. Oh yes, that reminds me actually. In order to progress further, there's a special element in the dreams. If we dream on passion and put the right lore card in there, it will indicate by when this changes. Lantern will work. I think Moth works as well, and I think Knock works as well, but I'll explain those as we go. That turns it to the bleached way, and that will progress that to acquire a very important element. Okay, we've gained... Oh, blimey, they're all happening here. This is another lose state card. It's called Trembling in the Air. Now, if you acquire cards called Fascination cards, which basically is a card that looks like it's a yellow card that has a face on it, and basically, when you acquire that gets dragged into there, and if 3 of those stack up, then it's another lose state. It's kind of like the Bleak Thoughts one, but this one works on a card called Inspiration. Inspiration cards are much harder to get rid of and requires dread to get rid of it. So as you can imagine, it's a difficult one to deal with. Okay, we are still gathering funds through this method. I'm using this method at the moment. There is another job that you can get, but I'm not getting it yet because it becomes quite painful to deal with as you move on. But it is the most lucrative one you can get, at least for the majority of the game. Okay, so Speaking on Esoteric Matters has now pulled in one of our reason to acquire a patron. You will either have to have reason or passion when you speak on Esoteric Matters, because you will either acquire a patron or you will acquire a follower or an acquaintance. Okay, we've finished the Bleached Way. That's unimportant at the moment, but this card is very important because this is one of the Dream Way cards, as I call it. I think it's Manzus is what it actually is. If I put this into the dream dream of to the wood and then put the right card in here, which is passion, I can enter the wood. And this becomes very important. Okay, so that ended with nothing, and yeah, basically if bleak thoughts and trembling air have nothing in them, then you'll be perfectly fine. They'll just time out, and then everything will be fine. If you manage to get rid of the cards that have stacked up on them, then it will fade away, so everything will work out. Okay, fun trick here is if you're going to use these Mystique cards, use ones that have the most time on them, because you want them to time out. Okay, so get rid of reason, and we'll put this in here with eruditions, so we get more reason. We gain 2 glimmerings, and the trouble is that these cards do time down, so if you're going to do stat growth, you want to get onto it pretty quick. So we'll take that reason back, gain some Mystique. You gain Mystique if you speak on esoteric matters. And we gained a patron. Now patrons, what we can do with them, we can talk to them, and we can get a commission from them. Now a commission is a unique way of acquiring certain goods. Okay, and this is what happens when you dream on Manzus. And so far we dreamed on the woods. Now what we do is we can either drag this card onto the forest icon and we acquire it, or we can pick one of these 2 cards here and we'll get that one instead. So I'll grab this one here, and I gain Subtle Flaw, which is useless to me right now. And I can dream on that again, and put Passion in there, and everything's all moving along. Right, so I gained some more reason. And what have we got here? Some more money. Now, if I had enough time, I would use Passion to acquire... to get more glimmering together so that I could upgrade my Passion. But unfortunately, I don't have the means to do that. Okay, so this guy here has given us a commission. And that commission is to create basically a written piece using what's known as Heart Law of a level of 4. Now, since I don't have any Heart Law at the moment, I can't do that, but that can just sit on the sidelines there. And we'll go back to board and shop. And let's see. I am aware of the time at the moment on this, so we'll just let this continue. Oh, I don't need Passion for this, do I? What am I talking about? I can just use Mystique. We'll do... yeah, we'll do that and do another piece. Okay, and we gain some erudition, and that's a useful book, and I might be able to make use of it. Okay, so that's timed out, and everything's ticking away quite nicely at the moment. Okay, and I gained another useless... those are called influences. They are useful for when you start doing things like spells and summons, and yes, there are spells and summons in this. But unfortunately, I don't have any rituals, and I don't have any use for these things, so they are pretty useless to me at the moment. And as things stand at the moment, I can't do much of anything. Okay, so that's Heart Law, and I can't use that with the commission because its strength is only 2. One way to strengthen those things is to put 2 of them together. So I could put 2 of these occult scraps together to strengthen it into a level 4. But it's no use to me at the moment, and I have these poetry books and some glimmering timing down, so we will level that up. But the majority of this game is basically around time management and just knowing when to act. Right, okay, so as things stand at the moment, I have some Mystique on the table, which I shall use to make me some more money. Let's get ourselves another book. This is generally the thing you're going to be doing at the start, is you're going to be spending a lot of time going to Maudlands to get books. Okay, and let's put that in there to speak on esoteric matters. This card has shown up. This will drag our temptation in, and it becomes it becomes essential in the end game. But for now, we don't need it. And and it will just keep popping up and creating restlessness, which becomes a bit of a problem. Against more passion. Everything's ticking over quite nicely at the moment. This book we got here is to learn Latin. There are languages in this, and what you need to do is you need to learn the language, or you need to learn a language, and then you can use it to translate the associated book or entry. Okay, we gained some more glimmering. Oh, we gained a lot of glimmering from that, actually, thinking about it. And I'm going to get rid of that restlessness. It's better to keep those things off the table as best as you can. We'll go back into the dream as well. Whoops. And okay, we now have a problem. A hunter has awoken, or the activity has come up, and we have mystique on the table. So that's going to grab some of the mystique, and there's a chance that a hunter will now appear. Okay, and we've gained the Scholar Latin card, which we can use to translate anything that is in Latin. And we gain some more glimmering. So what we can do is we can put this in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that has an added bonus, is that it strengthens this, the Passion work card, so that I can put 3 cards in it. And we have gained a Hunter, Dr. Natalia Dragon. I'm not familiar with that one. Idealist and Meticulous. Okay, so this is a tricky one to deal with. However, there are ways of dealing with them, which I will go into a little bit later. But basically, we now have to be careful, because if any notoriety appears on the board and the hunter activity activates, they'll grab the notoriety and create evidence. And if they can do that, if they can create damning evidence, which is the second stage of evidence, because it goes tentative evidence and then damning evidence. If they can do that, then they can basically take us down. It can lead to an end game state. They can't do that with Mystique though. Mystique just means they stay active longer, and we've gained a hanger-on. Hanger-ons are basically worthless to us. Like, they have very little value. And we'll go back to Wardlands and do some more of this. Oh god, yeah, funds. I need to keep on top of that. Let's do some work. I'm avoiding doing I might as well say it, the clerical work, because that's basically like working for Ebenezer Scrooge. Like, it basically is. Which, it provides a constant string of income, but it becomes quite annoying. Because if you don't do it every single time, then you have to take time to plead to get your job back, and if your funds are running low, that time can make all the difference. Okay, so the hunter has activated, and they are now going to grab the mystique that is on the table. Mystique doesn't lead to the creation of evidence, but it will mean that they will stay active on the table longer, which can allow for more time for notoriety to appear on the table. Okay, and we have gained some more lore. This is the Winter lore, and let's do this one. Oh, I have to translate it. So, Scholar Latin. We translate the text, and we can translate it from Latin. As things stand at the moment, not a lot is happening. We have a hunter on the table, but we are quite safe as we are. There's not a lot to worry about. Let's speak on esoteric matters again, and see if we can acquire more people interested in what the hell we are doing.